Alrighty, welcome back to the podcast. We're gonna jump on in here.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Thank you for coming on. If you just want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. Well, my name is Bettie Joubert. I was born in North Carolina, but lived in South Africa for a few years, and then we moved back to North Carolina. I'm a junior in college. I'm studying psychology and public health, and then I'm also getting my certification in personal training and nutrition coaching. I'm 20 years old, so I'm still kind of a baby, but still, I've been interested in fitness since I was about 15, 16 years old.
What moved you to South Africa?
So that's where my family's originally from. So my parents were both born there. My grandparents, everybody was from there. And then they were trying to kind of find a place to move to in the United States. They were kind of traveling around. They lived in Massachusetts for a while, Florida for a while, and then they were still traveling and trying to find a place to stay when my mom was pregnant with me. So they were in North Carolina, and then I was born. And then they went back for a few years, and then we came back to North Carolina.
You talked a little bit about your interest started when you were about 15. What really led into that?
So I was playing volleyball, and I was playing volleyball year-round, both in high school and at the club level. So I was playing, like I said, year-round, and it was really important for me to perform at my best, for my fitness and my nutrition to be at its best. And so that's what really got the interest going. And then I played up until senior year. I was trying to get recruited, working with a bunch of different recruitment coaches and stuff. And of course, they all said the same thing. They're like, if you want to be recruited, if you want to play at a good school, you're going to have to focus on nutrition and focus on fitness, because skill sometimes isn't enough if you want to play at a higher level. Yeah, that's what really sparked the interest. And then I got injured senior year. I tore my rotator cuff in my left shoulder. And then I stopped playing for a little while, went to college, just kind of, I wouldn't say gave up on fitness and nutrition, but I definitely I wasn't paying as much attention to it. I kind of let my nutrition go down. I was eating at dining halls, and the food wasn't my favorite, so I wasn't eating as much. And then when I did eat too much, it was just not balanced at all. And then actually quarantine. So that was going on for about a year and a half, that I just had a really weird relationship with food and nutrition, where I would go a couple weeks eating, being balanced and caring about my nutrition and stuff. And then I'd go a month not really caring. So it was really just all over the place. And then in March, when they they shut my school down and told us we were going to be online, I was sick, and the doctor told me I need to come get tested and make sure that I don't have COVID. So I went to the doctor. It wasn't COVID, it was sinus infection, but I stepped on the scale and I saw my weight, and I was I guess I didn't realize that I was gaining weight, because I had such an off and on relationship with food and nutrition. I didn't realize I was gaining weight, and I stepped on the scale, and it was probably 20 pounds heavier than I have ever been. And I remember just being super upset with myself, and just realizing I went from being in the best shape of my life playing volleyball to just not caring. And I wanted to get back into it. Even if it wasn't for a sport, I wanted to get back into it for myself instead of just getting into it for a sport. I wanted to do it so that I would be in better shape, so that I would feel better about myself. And it also had a lot to do with my mental health. It was just taking a toll on me mentally. Just, I wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't happy with how I looked or how I was acting. So I got back into it in March, and I've lost 30 pounds since then. So definitely back down and working on, building some lean muscle, and having a better relationship with food and with fitness, and having it be something that I want to do for myself and not just for a sport. I actually want it so that I feel healthy, so that I feel good about myself. Because like I said, it goes hand in hand with my mental health. And it's definitely, I've seen great progress in both. Keeping a food journal, keeping track, it definitely helps you hold yourself accountable on what you're eating. Because sometimes you might not even realize that protein bar that you just ate, that was 250 calories that you just put in your, it's you don't even realize it. So I think keeping a journal of it definitely makes you hold yourself accountable more and make you realize what you're putting in your body. Like that coffee that you drank this morning that had like the, 100 calorie creamer in it, that's 100 calories towards your diet that you just started your day with. So it's definitely important to keep a food journal. That helped me a lot. I didn't start with a food journal at first. And so I was just kind of like, I was like, okay, I'll eat healthy today. And, it's easy to say that, but it's not as easy to hold yourself accountable for it. And so I think when I started like holding myself accountable by tracking stuff, I saw better results than when I was not keeping myself accountable. So yeah, no, that's definitely, keeping a food journal is huge. And like you said, as an athlete, being able to be good at a sport is one thing, but then like you said, being able to keep up with like that strength and conditioning and your nutrition, it almost makes you more dedicated to the sport, because you're not only dedicated during that time when you're practicing or that time when you're playing, you're also dedicated off the field or off the court. So I think that's also like a super important thing that helps you stand out as an athlete, is that you're dedicated to your sport outside of when you're supposed to be, I guess. Like you're dedicated to it at all times.
So you talked a little bit about your mental health. Is that what motivates you to stay, in the fitness game, or is there something that's a little bit bigger of a pusher?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my mental health is the biggest thing that keeps me motivated, because I saw my difference so I struggled with anxiety a lot before getting into like fitness and nutrition again. And I still struggle with it occasionally, but I've definitely seen progress in getting better in my anxiety, and both like anxiety and depression just in general have been, I used to have pretty bad anxiety attacks. So I would just I'd be super stressed a lot, and I would have anxiety attacks about like everything. And like the depression part of it was definitely had to do with the fact that I was not happy with myself. And when you're not happy with yourself, I think that reflects in all of your friendships and relationships. It just doesn't really you can't really search for happiness elsewhere if you don't have happiness within yourself. And I think that's something that I kind of had to learn slowly but surely. But with being more involved in fitness and nutrition, I think feeling better about myself and even making healthier food choices just helps you feel so much better. At least for me, it does. And it's when I don't eat healthy, and this was even before I was getting really into it, when I was not eating well, I didn't feel well throughout the day. It was making an impact on my physical health, obviously, my mental health. I just felt really heavy and just not, I didn't feel good. And then when I started making healthier nutrition choices, when I started eating healthier, I definitely noticed help in my mental health in general, not just because I felt better about myself, but also just when your feet, what you put into your body is what comes out, And so if you're putting good things in, good things are going to come out. And I think when I started putting healthier things into my body, I definitely started seeing improvements in every aspect of my health, not just my physical health. So I think food is such an important thing, and I think people don't even realize it. What you're putting into your body is so important for every aspect of your health. It's not just to help you lose weight or to help you gain muscle. It really helps. I mean, it helped every part of my health, like I said. Yeah, mental health was a huge motivator for me because I knew how I was in high school when I was focused on becoming better each day. And when I wasn't focused on becoming better each day, I saw my mental health decline. So when I started focusing on each day becoming better than I was yesterday, I think that definitely helped my anxiety. And I haven't had an anxiety attack since I think April. So, I mean, it's definitely been a huge, huge step in the right direction. I just feel so much healthier in general. So I'd say mental health is my biggest motivator.
People don't associate food with mental health or with increased mood or whatever. So certainly that. And then, yeah, just confidence. I think confidence is something that a lot of people are looking for. A lot of people are lacking. A lot of people are looking for it. And it can be found in fitness.
Definitely, it makes a difference in mental health, just being just going to the gym or just going to lift weight, just getting some type of exercise in. But the other thing that I think I've noticed is that another big reason why exercising and stuff helps your mental health is that if you wake up every day and you are motivated enough to go and work out, to go and make yourself better, I think that makes you feel better about yourself because you're I'm doing this for myself. I'm getting up every day and making healthier decisions for myself. And I think like I said, it's most important to love yourself first, because if you don't love yourself, it's going to be hard to find love and like appreciation and happiness elsewhere if you don't have happiness within yourself. So I think like being able to make those decisions for yourself, like I think a lot of things that a lot of girls my age nowadays are talking about is self-care and like doing things, like to take care of yourself. And I almost feel like exercising is kind of overlooked. A lot of people are like, oh, self-care, like just, like taking a bath or going and getting a massage. Whereas for me, I'm like, I have self-care every time I work out. It's like that's something that I'm doing to take care of myself. That's something that I'm doing to make myself feel better. And it's a decision I'm making to like I said, be better than I was yesterday. So I think that's another reason why it helps your mental health so much, is because you're like, within yourself that you are motivated enough to wake up and go and work out each day, or like go and make healthier decisions each day. So I think that's another important thing, is that making those decisions are helping you feel it's helping your brain become stronger, because your brain is a muscle, and working out your brain, quote unquote, is helping you train that brain to be stronger and motivate yourself more and more each day. Because motivation at the beginning for me was tough. I was like, okay, like I wasn't really seeing results. It was like a week. So I was like, I wasn't really giving myself enough time, but I was like, it's been a week and I'm not seeing results. But pushing myself through, and then like in that first month and a half that I started seeing results, and I started seeing that like it was paying off, I guess I realized like if I can push myself for a month and a half to do it, why can't I push myself for another month and a half to do it? And then it just becomes something that you would like enjoy and love to do.
So you talked a little bit about just now when you started. Were you referring to when you restarted, or are you talking about when you first really started when you were playing volleyball?
When I restarted, because when I played volleyball, it was definitely a different atmosphere, because I had like my coaches and my teammates motivating me. Whereas now it's just myself. It was more difficult to find motivation then than when I was surrounded by people who were motivating me.
Gotcha. So you said you were more motivated because you were around people. So was that motivation coming from those people, or was it really inside you? And how does that compare to where the motivation comes from now?
I think it definitely was inside me, because my parents gave me the choice. They're like, you don't have to play volleyball if you don't want to, but we're going to support you if you choose to. And I love the sport. And I think a lot of my motivation also came from my love for the sport and my want to get better. Because I kind of am a perfectionist. And so I've pushed myself for a long time, whether it's at school or fitness or volleyball. Like I always try to push myself in some aspect of my life. I think that playing volleyball, it was easier to be motivated when I was surrounded by other people, because I think I don't know if this is the same for everybody, but when I go to the gym and I'm working out and I see everybody else working out, I almost feel a little bit more motivated, as opposed to when I'm in my room and I'm like, okay, there's nobody else like pushing me. There's nobody else here like working out with me. And I think it's definitely like the motivation still comes from within myself, but at the same time, it's definitely a lot easier to get myself up to working out when I know I'm going to be around my friends working out, around my teammates. Like if I know that I'm going to the gym the next day with some of my close friends, or like with a close friend or something, or with my brother, I'm almost more motivated to get up and do it, because I made a promise to somebody else, whereas like making a promise to just myself, I'm like, okay, if I don't do it, nobody knows I didn't do it. But I think it's getting past that point where I'm like, I'll like text my mom and I'm like, hey, I'm going to the gym in the morning, so that I still go, even though I'm not going with anyone. It's like, so I definitely think that motivation came from within myself, from volleyball to now. But at the same time, I think now I'm pushing myself more so to be motivated than I did when I was playing volleyball, because I'm going by myself and I'm not doing it for a team. I'm just doing it for me, essentially. I almost treat my phone as like a personal trainer, where when I was training with a personal trainer and they were sitting there next to me while I was working out, like telling me to keep going, keep pushing, keep the right form, I'm like, okay, my phone's telling me to do that, because if I'm going to post this workout, I can't post a workout with the wrong form. I can't post a workout only going 50%. Like I have to push myself 100%. I have to do the right form and stuff. So that's kind of it's the same thing for me. Like when I'm recording myself, I know I'm going to push myself.
A lot of people say they want to be a personal trainer or get that certification, but what's drawing you to the nutrition side as well?
I think the thing that draws me to nutrition the most is that, one, I love food. And I've been on the side where I've had a very unhealthy relationship with food. And then I've been on the side where I've had a healthy relationship with food. And I know how much of a difference that makes in your fitness goals, because I mean, like everybody will tell you, or I think a lot of people will tell you, like, you can work out every day. If your nutrition isn't right, you're not going to see the same results as when you're actually focusing on good nutrition as well. So I think like dieting and losing weight has been 80% eating right for me and 20% working out. Working out is obviously, I love to do it and it's very important, but if I don't eat well, if I'm not focusing on my nutrition, but I'm still pushing myself, one, I don't perform as well, and two, I don't see as much results. So I think like when my nutrition is on point, when I'm eating like balanced meals, when I'm being healthy, when I'm eating things that are better for my body and for my nutrition goals, for my fitness goals, I see a lot better results than, or like opposed to when I'm not feeding my body the right things or when I'm not focusing on nutrition. So I kind of had like my own little experiment where one week I decided to eat whatever I wanted whenever like my body felt hungry. And then I had like the next week, I kept myself to like eating at the same time each day, making sure I'm eating the right things, but then also like still listening to my body cues. I was making sure that I was feeding my body the right things, that I was eating a balanced diet and that my diet wasn't all carbohydrates and fats. Like I was also putting protein in, like just being balanced. The difference in my goals was crazy. And that's just in 1 week. In that week where I wasn't really focusing on my nutrition, but still working out every day, I think I actually maintained my weight. So I wasn't losing weight. Whereas the following week, I actually ended up losing like, I think 2 pounds or like 1.5 pounds or something like that, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's in 1 week. And just like that small difference, it adds up, like that 1 week of eating right and like being balanced and everything turns into 5 weeks of doing that. And then I've lost 10 pounds, so it's definitely, it's a huge difference. And that's why the nutrition aspect of it, like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just do nutrition coaching. And then I got into working out and I realized how much I love it. And I decided to do the personal training as well. But whether I'm personal training or nutrition coaching, I think it's so important for people to know that fitness is so much more than just working out. Like fitness is also what you're putting into your body, like what you're fueling your body with, both for like athletic performance and just for like losing weight or gaining muscle or anything. Like nutrition is so important. And I wanted to learn the ins and outs of it because there's so many different diets and so many different advice that you get from all over the place. Like you hear from one person, don't eat carbs, then you hear from the other person, no, eat carbs. I think it's kind of like from actual scientific research, I want to know what is healthiest for my body. Obviously, each person's body is different and each person's goals are different. But I think like learning the actual like scientific explanation behind why these things work for weight loss and why these things don't, or like why these things work for muscle gain and why these don't. That part is what attracted me, because now I feel like I can grasp my fitness goals a lot better than when I had no idea what I was doing with nutrition.
You're not just accepting what people tell you, you're testing these theories.
No, because like I said, every person's body is different. So I think like people being on diets and it's like, oh my gosh, she lost 15 pounds in 2 months. And then you try it and you don't lose 15 pounds in 2 months. And it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? The difference is that each person's body is different. Some people's metabolism work a lot faster than others. Some people like may be able to digest protein better than others. Experiment on yourself and figure out what works best for you. Honestly, some people, even if the diet, like if they try a diet and it works for them, they might hate the diet and end up having a terrible relationship with food. And I think it's more important to have a healthier relationship with food than to stick to a diet just because it helped you lose like a couple pounds. And you can end up eating the foods that you love while still losing weight or while still maintaining your nutrition goals, your fitness goals. So I think that's the biggest thing, is like making sure that you have a healthy relationship with food, but also like making sure that you're fueling your body with the right things, because you definitely have to find balance. And that's one thing that I've slowly but surely found is my balance, and knowing like, I know I have a sweet tooth, so I'm not going to just ignore it completely, but I'm going to find healthier options for myself. I kind of had to learn this the hard way, is that when you're working out and gaining muscle, that number on the scale might not drop as much as you want to, but you're still gaining muscle and you're still losing fat. It's just that, muscle weighs more than fat. So you're going to be, like you might not weigh the number that you want to, but you're gaining that lean muscle. And at the end of the day, you're still going to be in good shape. You're still going to look good. And that's what really matters more so than the number on the scale. Being patient is the biggest thing, I think, is being patient with diets and working out, because it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. And those diets that tell you like abs in 2 weeks or lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, like that might work for for one person, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone. And you just have to be patient and stay consistent with it. And I definitely think like being healthy and being strong, even if it means that you're not like super skinny, is becoming a lot more normalized now, especially for women. I think like it used to be, I mean, even when I was younger, it was always like being thin is beautiful and being thin is healthy. And like now, the older I get, the more I'm realizing like a lot of girls my age are more focused on being healthy and strong as opposed to being unhealthy and skinny. And I mean, I know for some people, it's just naturally that's their body type and they can still be extremely healthy, but that's just how their metabolism works. Like that's just how their body is. Yeah. Whereas, for other people, I think it's important for them to know, like, it's more important to be healthy than it is to be skinny. Obviously, I had a goal at the beginning, and it was to lose 20 pounds. And then the further I went along my journey, I was like, I'm not even worried about so much like that number on the scale. Now I'm a little bit more, like, I'm a lot more worried about being healthier and, like, getting stronger. That's really, at this point, that's what I'm focused on more so than that number on the scale that I'm trying to reach. It feels good to be able to say that I've lost 30 pounds, but at the same time, I'm like, that 30 pounds is gone. And now I'm more focused on having a healthy relationship with food, with fueling my body correctly, like listening to my body cues and also just getting stronger. So it's definitely, you learn so much in fitness. Like there's so many different parts of it. I mean, just in like the past 6-7 months that I've really gotten back into it, I feel like my goals have changed so many times, but the more you learn, the more you research, the more you realize like different goals are okay and changing your mind is okay as long as you're focusing on being like the healthiest version of yourself. Keep your mind open to different things, because if you're closed-minded, like you said, it just you end up working like maybe the same thing, or like you're set in this one goal that might have not worked for you for a while, but you're so stuck on it that you're not seeing any like other results. And so I think it's important to keep an open mind with fitness and nutrition in general, just because there's so much new research.
And I think that can be one of the dangers of social media, is that people are on there saying things and doing things that aren't maybe necessarily research backed or scientifically proven or even safe.
People who claim to, like they might say that they know what they're talking about, but they haven't actually done research on it. It's just what worked for them. So I think a lot of people are like following these people with hundreds and thousands of followers on Instagram, and they're like, oh my gosh, well that worked for her, so it's obviously going to work for me, and then it doesn't, and they're discouraged. And I think that's definitely the biggest con for me with social media in general, not just fitness on social media, is that there's so much false information and people just blindly follow it. For me, it's like when I see people working out on social media, or like when I see other people's workouts on social media and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks like an amazing workout, I'll save it and try it, and I'm like, it's almost like a community that is built on social media where you meet so many other people who have similar interests and so many people who are, like also working to live a healthier lifestyle. And I think that's something that is a positive side of it, is that it can influence other people to also live healthier lifestyles. I mean, through my account alone, my mom has wanted to be healthier. Like my grandma has wanted to be healthier. Some of my friends have reached out to me, and I mean, I don't even have 2,000 followers, and people are reaching out to me. And I think that's one of the biggest pros of social media, is that if you see a friend or if you see a family member, or just someone that you might not even know, choose to be like, when I see people's like weight loss posts and I see like their transformation, it just like, it motivates me, and I think that's one of the like pros of social media and fitness on social media, is that it can be a huge motivator and it can definitely like help promote healthier lifestyles.
What are your goals for the remainder of the year?
I would definitely say to stay consistent, because that's something I struggled with. Like I was telling you earlier, I kind of just had like an on and off relationship with it. So since March, I've stayed consistent, and I want to continue to do that for longer than just a few months. I want to like stick with it. So I'd say that's a big goal for me for the rest of 2020, is staying confident and staying consistent. That's a huge thing. I think The other thing is making sure that I'm continuing to educate myself, continuing to research what's working for me and like what's working for other people, stuff like that, and being able to help others, I think too. I've seen things work for me, and I've seen like a huge difference in my mental health and just health in general for me, and I want to be able to influence other people to also live healthier. Being able to share my story more vulnerably and being able to show people this is my story. I actually recently shared on my website where I kind of have like a blog about my story and how I struggled with an eating disorder, and I struggled with having like a pretty bad relationship with food. I struggled with bulimia, so it was kind of like if I ate too much or if I felt like I was full, I would, go and like make myself get rid of all the food that I just ate. So I definitely, I had a pretty terrible relationship with food in general, and it just wasn't healthy for my body. I wasn't getting nutrients in for my body. It wasn't healthy at all. And it was also like a huge mental health thing. An eating disorder is obviously it goes hand in hand with a mental health disorder. And I set myself a goal at the beginning of 2020 was to not, I can't just tell myself to not struggle with bulimia, but I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to put that in my past. And I've stuck with it for pretty much since February. I've stuck with it. And it feels great to be able to say that, because an eating disorder, I think, is something that I was like trying my best to push past. And so that's another thing, like staying consistent with that. So consistency is like my goal, or is my word for the year, in both staying consistent with being healthy and then also like staying consistent with focusing on my mental health and being healthier, not just in a physical aspect, but also in the mental aspect. So that's my goal for this year, is just to stick with it, not give up when, it gets tough. I think June was like my most difficult month so far, because I guess I was kind of hitting like a point where I just wasn't losing weight anymore. Just my weight would kind of fluctuate like between 1 or 2 pounds it just didn't seem to leave me. It was just staying there, and it was very frustrating. And I think at that point I kept on pushing, and I ended up losing, more weight the following months. And that was like my biggest thing. I was like, okay, if I can push through that, like I can continue to push through and I can continue to stay consistent with my goals. So even when it gets tough, even when I feel like there's no results, I just want to stay consistent and know that results are coming. They don't come quick, no matter what, no matter where you are in your fitness journey, they don't come quick. So,
right.
Yeah.
That might be the best answer when it comes to just staying healthy, and long-term success is just making the goal of consistency.
And like, that's the important thing to me now, is just staying consistent in both my fitness and nutrition and not focusing on the number anymore.
Having people on here sharing their own experience and their own words of wisdom certainly is what it's all about. And, just thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So as always, you can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube. As far as Apple Podcast goes, make sure you're subscribed. Please leave us a rating and a review. Really appreciate that. And you can also find us on Instagram at daniel.personaltraining. And you can find Holly at HOLLYYVOLZ. Have a great day. Peace.